I'm scared. I'm afraid. Every time when I see, say, a child is coughing, that coughing usually I will be relating it with COVID-19.
Zimbabwe is home to more than 13,000 refugees. These are displaced victims from areas in Africa that have experienced armed conflict. 400 kilometers southeast of Harare is Tongogara refugee camp, where I am today. 74.2% of the refugees within the camp are from DRC, 10% are from Mozambique, 6% from Burundi, 5% from Rwanda, and 4.8% are distributed among small communities from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, and Sudan. But as governments are having critical conversations on how to fight COVID-19, is it possible that they could have forgotten refugees in the process? Today, we find out that if everyone is talking about the impact of COVID-19 on economies, on the health sector, on the education sector, have they been talking about the impact of COVID-19 on refugees? On the Game Changer documentary today, we find out the impact of COVID-19 on refugees. The World Health Organization estimates that between 7 and 10% of the world's population live with disabilities. As such, it can be assumed that between 2.5 and 3.5 million of the world's 35 million displaced persons also live with disabilities. Among displaced persons who have fled civil conflict, war, or natural disasters, the number with disabilities may even be higher. Stephen Mutundu, a rehab assistant for people living with disabilities, says COVID-19 came like a war.
I'm Stefan Mutundu, a rehab assistant, a volunteer worker working with a group of CBRIA, which is community-based rehabilitation assistant. Providing the psychosocial support for people living with disability in Tongogara refugee camp. People living with disability are affected by the COVID-19. It came like a war. They are affected morally, and this it gave an impact in people living with disability, especially toward the point of education, for example, because since the COVID-19 started, children living with disability are facing a problem to continue with their education. This is a big impact. And during this period, of course, assistants, they have been assisted with masks to protect themselves because according to the measures taken by the high level to avoid the COVID-19, people were called to put masks, to keep a social distance and to wash hands. But as an assistant also, the people living with a disability are receiving treatment. They are receiving also some assistive devices when after being visited by the physiotherapy from outside the camp.
Involuntary immobility is a key risk for many refugees and migrants in transit. due to closed borders, depleted resources, and fear of arrest, deportation, or xenophobic violence. With COVID-19 coming into play, the risks have increased, leaving refugees with no hope. I have with me Kelly Kabasele, who is the leader of new arrivals within the Tongogara refugee camp. We want to talk about the impact of COVID-19 when we look at the movement of refugees. As much as COVID-19 is no respecter of borders, we still know that they're facing conflict within the different parts of Africa. Welcome, Kelly. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful day here at Tongogara Refugee Camp, and I can't hide my excitement because it is my first time at the camp, and you guys are doing phenomenal work. So tell me a little bit about the new arrivals. Since the beginning of COVID-19, actually, let's start before COVID-19. How many new arrivals were you getting per day?
Thank you very much for choosing me to these interviews. Since before the COVID-19 started, it was in 2019.
Yeah.
We were observing a lot of new arrivals were coming into the camp, more than 20 people
per day.
Per day.
Right.
Yeah, but since 2019, there is a very, what can I say, there's not too much people are coming, but right now it's a few people are coming, average one per day.
And this is since the beginning of COVID-19?
This is the beginning of COVID-19 in 2019.
Yeah. 2019. What do you think the challenge is right now? I mean, we do know that there's still armed conflict within the different countries.
Yeah.
Why have refugees slowed down in terms of them coming to Zimbabwe?
So I think that's it's a very strong question for me, because new arrivals, they used to come from the borders.
Right.
So I think perhaps there's a system that they put on the borders that are not allow a lot of new arrivals to come into the camp. I think it can be that.
Right. So we're saying that COVID-19, obviously due to the fact that borders have been closed,
of course,
and there's just so much happening, has slowed down the coming in of refugees. What sort of impact do you think this would have on the refugees that are trying to seek asylum, or they're trying to seek refuge elsewhere?
I think the impact is too many, according to me, because a refugee comes from a country where there's a war, is not safe there. Then when he's rushing to a place where is safe for him, he must obviously be free of his movement. I think that can be my point of view. And then if they've been there's a problem on the border according to this moment, because this moment we are on the COVID-19 problem, we still have that problem, then it affects them too much, refugees, because they cannot reach the safe place where they must go.
And in terms of new arrivals having COVID-19, have we had a few positive cases?
I think according to that, because there's a lot of department in the camp.
Yeah.
There's a department for health that is looking on testing people when they are arriving. Yeah, the government disposed certain what we call a quarantine. Quarantine is a space whereby when the refugees comes, then they put him into the quarantine for observation.
Right.
Then in that quarantine, they are going to test him. There is a group of department, people from Department for Health who are coming to the quarantine to do their test.
Okay.
After that, they're going to move, if it's positive, they move him from the quarantine to another center that we call isolation.
And this is all within the camp?
Yeah, it's in the camp is like that.
Right.
Yeah, even people who went out of the camp, if the moment that they decided to come back in the camp, they must go first in the quarantine.
Right.
Yeah, if they test them and they realize that they are positive, they will put them in the isolation center. But the number, it's up to the Department for Health.
Of Health. Lastly, Kelly, let's talk about, I mean, I was having this discussion with you off the record saying that, do you believe that governments could have possibly forgotten the refugees in the process of fighting against COVID-19? Why I say this is the borders are shut down, right? But governments know that we have refugees all over Africa that are going through armed conflict, but they didn't consider this in the process. I mean, what could be the challenge of all of this? And what do you think the solution is? I mean, should refugees be given some sort of, access to the different borders? Or, I mean, what do you think should be done?
I think, according to me, they should think about refugees who are coming from the country where there is a conflict.
Yeah.
Because it also allowed them to be free and to feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, to feel safer. To me, I think to the borders, they must put a strategy or a system that can understand all people are coming into the country, to put a system to the border to interview people are coming into the country so that they can know and that they can discover who is a refugee
and who isn't.
Who is not.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly. That was Kelly, the leader of New Arrivals. We're just talking about, the challenges of the movement of refugees during the COVID-19 period. Before COVID-19, we had over 20 or 30 refugees coming on a daily basis at Tongogara refugee camp. But now we only have one person coming on a daily basis, which poses a big challenge and a big question to governments. Did they forget the refugees in the process of fighting against COVID-19? Mary Teresa is a gender-based violence focal person. She confirms that since COVID-19 started, there has been a spike in gender-based violence in the camp. Most cases go unreported, and therefore she's been on a drive to educate refugees about the impacts of gender-based violence.
I'm Mary Teresa. Yeah, I'm from DRC. I'm a refugee since 2003. I'm living the refugee camp, Tongogara refugee camp. I'm working on behalf of TDH. I'm SGBV focal person. Yeah, but my focus is to fight against gender-based violence in the camp. We have many cases during the COVID-19. Yeah, because people are not going out. They are all at home. We have many cases of rape. Yeah, many people were raped during the COVID-19, and some conflict in the house with the neighbors. We have many problems. We have the physical violence. We have sexual violence. We have economic violence. People are not using our food basket. Yeah, they are using food to exchange with the other items. Yeah, that causes also violence in the house. You can see violence between mother and the father. Mother is using food in the house for buying even orange, for buying groundnuts, instead of buying food for the house, for the entire family. And we have many sexual violence in the camp. You see young ladies and young boys. They are going out of the families to do bad things. Yeah. We have many challenges in the camp. Now people are violated, but they don't report. They are scared. They are afraid of the resettlement cases. They are afraid to go to the police, even to the office to report. That's the challenges we have. We have many challenges. People are many violated every day, every time. Before the COVID-19, we received few cases. But during the COVID-19, we have many cases in the camp. We have many cases, but people themselves, the one who are violated, they are afraid to report. Maybe for the culture, maybe they are afraid for their husband, maybe they are afraid for the family, but we encourage them to report. Because if they report, we have something to help us. we have the counselors, we have our forum discussion. We can invite parents. We teach them about GBV cases. That's our case. That's our job we are doing in the camp. Yeah, we are the link between the office and the community. Yeah, it's us, we are helping the office because the office cannot come in the ground to look cases. It's us, the focal person. We are in the ground and we are in the field. We are in the field. People themselves, some they can come to report, but others they are afraid to report. If they report, we go to the ground, we do our job, even to do counseling, even we can report to the office can call them to do counseling also. That's our job we are doing in the camp. Because of the challenges, we report all the challenges to the office. Yeah, sometimes we go to the ground with our supervisor. Yeah, we have the home visit. We have home visit, we visit those who have cases of GBV.
Businesses in the refugee camp have not been spared during the COVID-19 crisis. Mr. Ngongo, the owner of VIP restaurant, has made serious losses. He knows that people must be protected against COVID-19, but at the same time, his business will suffer.
I'm Mr. Ngongo from DRC. In the camp, I tried to open my business, the restaurant, the one you see here, to help my family and myself. But the challenge I have is this COVID-19. So you can see the restaurant is empty for now. But before COVID-19, it was full. The people was coming to eat. But now, some of the people doesn't have money. Some of them is scared about the corona. So I was get the visitor who was coming to eat here, but now the visitor don't come in the camp because it's scared to come inside because can have corona, some of them. So it's the challenge I have for my business. And then I can say the COVID-19 has helped us because also the people is coming out. He can come there and then he come to leave that COVID-19 they came. But because the government make lockdown, it help us also, it protect us, the refugees, to get the COVID-19. So they can say is an advantage for this lockdown. One side he kill us about the business, another side he protect us about to get the COVID-19.
An adequate education has the power to propel any student towards future success. For refugee children whose early lives are often defined by the instability of displacement, it becomes a serious challenge. The academic, social, and environmental aspects of attending school build important tools supporting advancement later in life. Ansile, a brilliant student about to write her O-levels, isn't too sure about what her future will look like as COVID-19 has affected her education.
My name is Ansila Nirema. I'm a refugee here in Tongogara refugee camp, and I was born here, but I came from in Burundi. So I am a student here in Zimbabwe. I learn at St. Michael's. I'm in Form 4 now. So I will be talking about the impacts that COVID-19 has done to us. So firstly, I started my Form 3. Then when we were in Form 1, I just taken my studies, Form 2, then Form 3. Then now in Form 3, I was doing I was doing 10 subjects. Then I was, we just learned term 1 only. Then when we didn't even finish the term 1, then they said we should go into the lockdown. So we stopped the studies. We're just sitting at home. The term 2, term 3, next year, now we're in this year, 2021. So we didn't even learn anything. And I want to write ZIMSEC this year. So this COVID-19 have done a great thing in my life that I won't forget. Even though I die, I don't know what, I won't forget this pandemic. It's something which is affecting my mind. So I would sometimes just think, what am I going to do? So it's something that is disturbing my mind, you know. So now I'm in Form 4. We started the first term. Now they said we're in lockdown again. So they just bring these things of colors, you know. It's something which is just complicating. So this COVID-19 have done many things for me. Yes, not only in school stuff, just even in family. My father is a businessman. He's doing business there in the camp. Yes, they say he's the one who buy for me everything. He's the one who do everything for me. So now they say that people who are selling, they should start at 8 to, I don't know if it is 7. Yes, they should start from 8 to 7. So it is not even helping. Maybe if they just leave everything, they just leave as it was in long back. So it is just affecting our family. We are not raising enough money like how we were raising before. Yes, sometimes it is helping because we are protecting ourselves against this pandemic. You know, it has got advantages and disadvantages to ourselves. So here in the camp, many people, even I'm just thinking, if they add another 2 weeks, many girls they at our schools, they are just going pregnant, you know. They're just, yes, those are the issues that are happening in our community. I have my friends, they just think, even though I write this ZIMSEC, I don't know if I'm going to pass because we just do the last year, this year we don't learn. So even though I write, I don't know if I'm going to pass. Her plan is to get pregnant. So there are many girls, my friends. The other one, she just ran away. I think last week she ran away to what? To South Africa. She just said she cannot make it. So we have fear as girls because here in the camp, as girls, they are saying that girls, they cannot make it, right? They cannot make it. Just schooling is for just boys. So yes, girls, they cannot make stuffs of schools. So their work is to just go and live at home, get married, just born children, just start raising children, you know. But that's not it. They're just maybe some people in the community, that's the traditional knowledge they have. They just think with a girl, she don't go to school, she just remain at home, just be a housewife, you know. But that's not it. It's something like discrimination, you know. Yes. So I think this COVID-19, it is an impact to us a lot as students, even our families. Many people, this COVID-19, it is affecting our families, even as students. It is affecting our family how? Our parents are not even working. They just leave school just because of what? They just leave their businesses just because of this COVID-19. Yes, as I said before, it has good advantages. They just leave it because they want to protect themselves. And it is also affecting the other side because they are not working like how they should work.
Developmentally, losing weeks or months of education for any student is difficult to recover from. The added instability of their environment puts refugee children at even greater risk of dropping out. But what about the teachers? How have they been dealing with this new normal? Mrs. Machapa, the Tongogara primary teacher in charge, isn't too happy.
I'm Mrs. Machapa from Tongogara Primary School. I'm the TIC of the school. and usually I am responsible for the infant department, the manning of infant department. Right, I'm going to tell you about the impact of COVID-19 here at Tongogara Primary School. Should I say? One thing, quality education may not be achieved, especially when you're looking at Tongogara Primary School. The reason the enrollment of the school is so high, and the only thing for COVID-19, we are staggering at Tongogara Primary School. When we are staggering, I mean some children of the same grade, they are divided into two groups. The first group may come on Monday, the second group will come on Tuesday, that group will come on Monday, will come on Wednesday. Then that group will come on Tuesday, will come on Thursday. Then Friday, one group again, which means a group may come to school for only 2 days, while the other group will come to school 3 days per week. Now, considering the material to be covered, there might be a problem because of this COVID-19. Instead of having the whole week children coming to school, you can see they will come, say, 2 days. And if one child will miss a day, that week may end up learning only 1 day. Now to the teachers again, there is a problem. Besides being scared to the virus, the preparedness of teachers. Teachers will have prepared their work for the given term, say the ministerial term. The term will start from such a date to such a date according to the calendar. Then with this COVID-19, only to be told, no, we are not going to open on such dates. We have extended our holiday, say by 2 weeks or by 3 weeks, and you can see the teacher will have to change again their work, which they have prepared for the whole term. They will have to prepare it, say, for just half the term. Then I was talking of quality education may not be achieved in such a way. Then completion of the syllabus may not be completed. The syllabus may not be completed. Why? There are so many activities to be done in order to keep this COVID-19. You will see when the children come to the school, temperature will have to be checked on the gate. So many activities, so many delays. Instead of starting at 7 o'clock, you will see we will start at, say, 8 o'clock. Then when they go out for break, coming from break, they have temperature check again. So time is taken during all these activities to curb COVID-19. So you will find the teachers will have a problem in completing whatever they want to teach to the children. There is a problem of language barrier between the teachers and the children. And it means we need a lot of time. Teachers need a lot of time with the children so that they try in all languages, in all ways, so that children understand what the teacher will be teaching because of language barrier. So it won't be easy because of the short time for the teachers with the learners. So that's another challenge to Tongogara Primary School in order for them to complete the syllabus and have quality education at the end of the day.
The government of Zimbabwe, with the help from UNHCR, have taken robust measures to fight against COVID-19 within the refugee camp. Misinformation has been a big issue within the camp. They're on a mission to educate refugees on the impact of COVID-19. They have gone the extra mile of creating an isolation and quarantine center to curb the COVID-19 infections.
Currently, Zimbabwe is home to 15,108 refugees and asylum seekers, majority of whom are from the Democratic Republic of Congo, some from Mozambique, and of course a few from Burundi and Rwanda, as well as from the Horn of Africa, where we have Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and partly from South Sudan and Sudan, and of course a few again from West Africa, from Ivory Coast and Mali. This is the population we are hosting in the camp, and in terms of policy, we are implementing an encampment policy. And relating to COVID mitigation strategies, the government of Zimbabwe, in partnership with the UNHCR and the partners that we are working with in Tongogara refugee camp, had to adopt a whole of government approach, a whole of partnership approach to protection, where we had to put in place measures to contain the spread of COVID-19. We had to put in place robust measures to counter misinformation and underinformation, realizing that a lot was being said concerning COVID-19, which was actually misleading our population in Tongogara refugee camp. So we had to put in place sustained information dissemination through our health team. At the same time, we had to work with the Ministry of Health and Child Care to ensure that our persons of concern are well informed about COVID-19. In addition, we had to implement the lockdown measures that were pronounced by authorities in their letter and spirit to ensure that persons of concern were or are protected in Tongogara refugee camp. In other words, we had to make sure that movements were restricted, we had to ensure that persons of concern adhere to social distancing as pronounced by the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health and Child Care. In addition, we had to undertake a proactive stance by establishing a quarantine and isolation center in Tongogara refugee camp. Our quarantine center can accommodate 40 persons at a time, while the isolation center can accommodate 30 persons at a time. All these two centers were established in order to ensure that our persons of concern are protected and are safe from COVID-19. We had to establish a quarantine center after realizing that we continued to receive new arrivals. We also continued to receive returnees who were coming back to the camp. You realize that when COVID started, almost everyone was shocked and was actually afraid. So many people were coming back to the camp, running away from Harare, and those who had also crossed the borders were also coming back to the camp. So we had to make sure that persons of concern are safe in the camp. We also improved water provision in partnership with UNHCR and the African Development Bank. We had to put in place measures to ensure that water provision is improved in the camp. And I am happy to advise that the western part of the camp now have access to water 24 hours a day. This is what we did to ensure that our persons of concern are safe. And of course, sustained measures were also put in place to ensure that people adhere to COVID measures, such as hand washing, wearing of face masks, as well as adherence to social distancing. This is what we did in Tongogara refugee camp. And of course, we had 11 positive cases, but I'm happy that we had no casualties. We can account for everyone in Tongogara refugee camp insofar as COVID-19 is concerned. And in terms of the impact of COVID-19 on the persons of concern, and please remember that when we refer to persons of concern, we are referring to refugees. We realized that already the living conditions in Tongogara refugee camp are such that refugees are living in cramped situations. And with the COVID-19, where we had restrictions in terms of movement, it was very difficult for persons of concern. Again, misinformation and underinformation also affected our persons of concern, mainly issues that relates to trauma, issues that relates to, lack of proper information actually affected our persons of concern. And again, restrictions also had a bearing on the self-reliance projects in Tongogara refugee camp. You realize that our persons of concern, some of our persons of concern are into business. And because of restrictions in movement, we had to also restrict their movements to an extent that they could not afford to go to Mtare or Harare to buy their wares for sale in Tongogara refugee camp. In a way, this also affected their livelihoods projects. But of course, also more fundamentally, issues that relates to psychosocial challenges came into being, realizing that COVID was actually pronounced as a war situation. And this came to an audience that ran away from a war situation. So issues that relates to, pre-flight experiences as well as the flight experiences, they had to relapse, they had to go back and try to reflect on what was happening vis-a-vis the COVID-19. So they were actually affected psychologically. And of course, durable solutions were also affected by COVID-19. Most of the countries that were or that are taking refugees on board on resettlement programs, suspended resettlement programs across the world because of COVID-19. And by the way, most of the countries that take on board refugees on resettlement are countries from the Western world. So these are the countries that were hit most by COVID-19, and they had to suspend resettlement programs to an extent that refugees were left in limbo, and it appeared that there was no solution in sight. These are the issues that affected our persons of concern in Tongogara refugee camp. Of course, education was also significantly affected as children had to stay home because of COVID-19.
According to the UNHCR 2020 year-end results, 100% of people of concern had access to primary health care. Ensuring that migrants and refugees are not left behind is essential. Universal health coverage is essential, especially during a pandemic when access to health services is a major challenge. Migrants and refugees, regardless of their legal status, should have access to COVID-19 testing, treatment, and so much more.
I'm Penzura Ngoni, the environmental health technician working for TDH under the UNHCR donation and funding. Here we are at the refugee camp clinic. Here we offer all health services under this clinic, and we are under COVID. We are under COVID situation, and in this situation we have done a lot of things. We have provided the isolation center to cater for our patients. We have provided the quarantine center, and also here at the clinic we offer triaging of all the patients, and the patients after the triaging we test them for any signs and symptoms for COVID. Then if we found any patients which have COVID, we put that patient into the isolation center. Then we also offer the health education sessions here at the clinic to all the patients who come here early in the morning. We also offer health education in the community in terms of road shows under the COVID context. And also we offer door-to-door health education sessions to provide for those who are not able to walk and also those who are disabled. We offer them health education under door-to-door sessions. We also have some Ministry of Health which came here and offer some road shows to the community so that COVID will be catered for. In terms of COVID education, the community is aware and we are happy. We have less cases in the camp. We only receive several cases in January. Then after that, under intensified education, the community doesn't have any cases as of now. Here in the camp, we didn't face any challenge in terms of resource mobilization, since we have our major donor, the UNHCR, which have provided everything, and we also were prepared for any infectious disease in the camp. So we are already having established our isolation center, and we also have our emergency kits which were available, but due to the funding which was available, the Ministry of Health also get into the pool and also offers us with some education on the emerging disease of public health importance. Then our clinic staff were trained to cater for these diseases, and the resources were mobilized through various organizations, and our organization managed to use those resources for the better of the refugees.
In the words of United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, no country can fight the pandemic or manage migration alone. But together, we can contain the spread of the virus, buffer its impact on the most vulnerable, and recover better for the benefit of all.